welcome to another video from Egne. Recently I had a request to go more into the very basics of Island, so that people can have a better understanding before they ever get onto Island. So that's what I'm going to do today, and I'm going to break it up into two parts. So before we get into that though, I have to go through my usual things I have to say. For one, this video is sponsored by Aptoid. The link will be on the screen right now. What link is it is a third party that is linked with Google and also Apple if you can play through Bluestacks, that allows you to make in-game purchases at a much higher discounted price, anywhere from 5 to 40% off any in-game purchase. And frankly, I use it myself for most day-to-day gaming, just because it actually seems to be a lot more fluid, especially in combat situations, to result in less crashes and timeouts and anything like that. So give it a try and use my promo code, which is also on the screen right now, and start getting a bigger discount today. But on top of that, as I've said before, as we progress with our sponsorships and such, for the first 3 months of any monetary gain that we get from YouTube or from sponsors or anything like that, I'll be giving 100% away to those that are subscribed and in our Discord channel. So invite your friends, everything else like that, so that we can get more people going, get more monetary gain coming in, so that we can give back to the community. So on top of that, the Discord link will be down below. And then after the first 3 months, what I'll be doing is I'll be giving 25% away every month to who is in the Discord and subscribe to my YouTube channel. But alright, so let's get into it. So the reason why this was asked is people didn't understand like the importance in the previous videos that I've done, like the importance of tiles, what that meant, what each of the buildings meant. So I'm going to break this up into two parts. The first part's going to be more about like the very basics about everything from Hornets, mud skippers, buildings themselves, and tiles, so that you can get a real good grasp and understanding going in about what that is. So we'll get right into it without further ado. So first off, we'll get into tiles, which tiles link into two different things: your honor and your repetition. So as you can see, you can take tiles, and what these do is that for every tile that you take, it'll give you, let me find that there it is. So for every tile that you take, it gives you a certain amount of seasoned ants per hour. So if you look over here, so like for this one, if I go to it, this one is giving me 21 ants per hour, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you start multiplying times 132 with how many tiles you have total, it starts adding up to thousands per hour. This is something that is very important because the seasoned ants are way stronger than any of your basic normal ants, and when you get T10 and can enhance them, they're even stronger even still, because then some of your Evo, like you have in secondary combat with the what is it, the crush effect, something like that, or tier superiority, yeah, it gives you a crushing effect to lower tier soldier ants. So even if they have normal seasoned ants, your enhanced seasons will do even better. So that's something you want to focus on pretty fast. And as you can see by mine, because I am a shooter main, almost everything that I have is completely shooter based, besides a couple guardian tiles I have, because I do usually run one guardian march, but for that I pretty much just need to have one guardian march at any time to be able to be just fine. So at the beginning, you'll be able to have 20 soldier ant tiles. Now, like I said, with these tiles, they can be taken over by other players, but not your own players. So it has to be an enemy that takes it over to be able to lose your tile. And you have a max limit of 200 throughout the entire island. Now, with it, it ties directly into your honor. Your honor determines how many tiles that you can have. So by honor alone, you can have up to 80,000. But your alliance influence, you can get another 20 from that, which will give you 100. And then there's milestones that are throughout the entire event that will end up giving you another 100. But we'll get into that here in just a second so you can understand honor and influence a little better. But this is why we're saying that one of the most important things is getting tiles and such. But you also want to make sure that you're working together as a team to be able to get your influence up and get the best boost and rewards and everything else like that, which is what we'll go into next. So when you are going towards a building, you'll start at your blockhouse. Your blockhouse is the only absolutely safe zone in the entire area. However, people can still invade your initial area. They just cannot hit you if you were in the blockhouse. Now, when you go to build a tower, this is what it is. It's Alliance Clay owned. In your initial area, it only costs 2,000 clay. Outside of your initial area, it costs 4,000 clay. You can obtain yourself a total, I forget what it is. You can obtain yourself 100, 220, 370, I think it's 500. Yeah, good lord, I can't do math right now. But yeah, only to your fourth shell, 180, of your own personal daily activity is how you can obtain clay. And that clay goes to the Alliance and is as a base pool for the Alliance to be able to draw out of. Now, as an entire Alliance, you can only have 30,000 clay per day. Now, like I said, inside the initial area, you can have each tower costs 2,000, which means you can have 14 towers a day, whereas outside of the initial area, they cost 4,000, so it's between 7 and 8 towers a day that you'll be able to do. So that's something to keep in mind and plan ahead, etc. for that. So when you're building these towers, you obviously want to cross the most amount of distance as possible. That's why you'll see almost all of our tiles are tip to tip, going directly to a goal that we want to do. Now, when you're choosing what goal you're trying to do for a building, you want to take a look at what the building buffs are. So if you look at this right here, you go to info. See, this one is giving an increased guardian output. So your guardian ant season ants, you have a higher output of an additional 11 per hour. And then it gives carry ant defense. Not exactly something that most people really care about. But then you start getting into some of the other buildings, like this one, for instance, I believe. Well, no, not really. It gives better shooter ant defense. But, okay, well, we'll just do one I know for sure is better. You look at the Wonder, so you're getting Guardian output, Shooter output, Carry output, plus you're getting all soldier ant attack, defense, and health. So Wonders are always very important. But each individual building gives a different stat besides the Wonders. So Wonders always give a pretty basic set stat. Now, obviously, a tree acts as a Wonder, and that gives you more bonuses. Same with the Clash Wonder. But individual buildings like this one, for instance, gives a carrier ant output as well as shooter ant attack. So that's a good building to get because most people are carrier or guardian. Now you go and look at the Clash area, and like for this one, it's even more output, more attack, more health. And you go and look at the tree, which is the biggest buff on the game. 90 per hour, 30, 30, 12%. So each building gives a higher or different buff. Now these buildings are split up into layers, residents, ferries. Now ferries do not give any buff, it only allows you to cross a river, much like a leaf does, which I'll explain that there in a second. And then you have the tunnels, which also don't give any buff. And then you also have the wonders, or the tree. Excuse me. So each of those give a different buff, besides obviously the tunnels, the ferries, and yeah, and that's it. So you always want to look at that as you decide what you're going to do. You also want, obviously look at what time zone, your activity to be able to do certain things. But yeah, so then you get into the milestones. So with the milestones, every few days they do a new thing. Like you can see the dates on there to where we got different things, like occupy 500 soldier ant colonies, 30 alliance towers. Those go pretty fast. Have enhanced the anthill 3,000 times. Some of these are like the entire island's rewards, and some of these are individual and alliance based. All rulers in the season zone defeated 50 level 5 of 35 or above geckos. 15 level 3 fortresses, which are like layers, residents, etc., etc. 500 hornets, which I'll explain what those are here in a second. Marsh hunter, which I'll explain what that is here in a second. Another fortress one, residence one. The next one is going to be influence based, so based on what your influence is at that time, you get the better rewards. And I'll explain what these are too, the enhancement resin. But first we'll get into the hornets. So every day you can attack what's called hornets, which are a lot like normal insects and such, but these offer a little bit better rewards, which give you the Lost Island fruit, a resource chest, which are a resource of your choice, as well as the additional things. They also give enhancement resin. Now you can do 20 of those a day. Obviously higher level hornets give you better rewards, but yeah. But then you go into what that actually gives you. Like they'll have events like this. They're hitting 20 of them today, a day will give you season, for each one that you hit, 600 of whatever season 11 amp that you want, which is a good thing. But we go into the Race of the Champions and go to the season store. So every week you can buy season hatch eggs, which give you a chance of getting the season ants, enhancement resin, guaranteed bioessence, and guaranteed exotic shells. You can also get this other stuff, but I never bothered to really buy it until the very end. Okay, so with the enhancement resin, now they have split it up to where there's two different types of enhancement resin. One you have to buy, which is through this pack, the season development plan, which is the hardened enhancement resin, which is absolutely retarded, but I'll explain what that is. So in your actual hive itself, each one of these buildings, you use that enhancement resin to be able to upgrade. Now, obviously, as you can see, there's certain buildings that are far more important than others, which I've covered in the past video. Like, for instance, your queen is attack of all, defense of all, health of all. But these are things that you can get that are kind of like leveling up your buildings, but when you're above 25. Now, these enhancements are only on the island. They disappear after the island, and you can only basically get the buffs during island. Now, and then you got like your shooter ant, which is your hourly input, healing speed, healing cost, etc. Now, the troop tunnel is where that new hardened resin comes in, but they also changed what the actual stat is, which is actually pretty good. Troop 1, Troop 2, Troop 3 attack, defense, and health. So that's pretty good. So now we go into honor. So the honor is not the honor affects how many season ants you can output, but the honor, aside from that, really doesn't have any effect besides you're able to get your tiles faster than pretty much anybody else, because obviously once you hit 80,000 honor, you're capped out. So I've never really saw the point of trying to race for honor, but some people just like to be, you know, hey, I got first in honor. Whatever, that's their pie to eat. Totally fine with me. As you can see, I'm way down, way down. I'll boost up tomorrow with building day to when I go ahead and use some of my enhancement resins to be able to actually get some shells on building day. And then you have Alliance Influence. Now the Alliance Influence is from taking the buildings that we discussed earlier. Each building gives a certain amount of influence. Now layers give less than residences, and residents give more. Towers and ferries do not give anything. So as you can see, like for the Wonder, it's 25,000 influence. For a little lair, it's only 4,000. Residents, 10,000. Now when you get into the Clash area, it's a little bit more, 30,000 for that, 15,000 for a residence, and 6,000 for a little lair. Get into the tree area, there's 20,000, 20,000, and then the tree is 45,000. So the tree area, that the whole focus is the tree area. Now, when you're going through, you can't just race to wherever you want to go, because if you click on this where it says like the tunnel level 9 is in bonus, and it says duration of station bonus to ants 9 days, 1 hour, etc., etc. What that means is to be able to cross into the next area. If you go and try to hit these, even if you are a maxed out whale of a T10 spender, it's going to hurt because they have over 200,000. 2,000 times the normal stats of what you would hit, which you're not going to be able to get to. And as you can see, when you're going through and actually fighting for a fortress, you actually are hitting actual troops. Let me see if I can, yeah, here we go. You actually are hitting actual troops. So as you can see, they're still damaging you, and depending on what tier building it is, you know, they have harder and harder troops. So it's still going to hurt you. And if you're looking at something that, say, like for instance, if you're looking at the Wonder has 33,750,000 troops. So essentially you're looking, I mean, if you look at most people's marches, we're only having, you know, 340,000 or whatever. So that's how many actual troops you have to go through. So that's how many different lineups you're going to have to go through to be able to actually get through it, which is quite a bit. So always keep that in mind as well. So you are actually hitting other troops. Now, and I'll get into the healing process and fighting and all that in a different video, so we won't go into that quite yet. But we will go into when I was talking about earlier about how the tunnels and such do not give any influence. So if you look, Alliance influence 0. Now the benefit of, say, flipping a tunnel or something with an ally or anything like that is that when you go into your individual rewards or your season rewards, it has like owning a certain amount of slow patches, owning a certain amount of enhancements, 150 level 7 or above colony solar ant colony, so your tiles essentially, certain number of wild creatures, kills on other alliances, join the fight in occupy fortresses for 15 times total. Then here's durability that you're going to need to get, and then there is doing the alliance towers, defeating a certain amount of station kills. So as you can see, I'm actually way down on the actual durability part of it. That's something I have to work on. But yeah, you get the individual, but then you also get the alliance rewards that you always have to take a look at and make sure that you're going to get those essentially for the best possible end rewards for your alliance. But anyway, that pretty much wraps up this basic video. I'm going to go into more of a combat type video for my next one, so stay tuned for that. If you guys liked the video, if it helped you at all, like, subscribe, share with your friends, join the Discord channel. All the information will be in the description down below, and we'll see you in the next one. Egg me out.